The world's fastest growing companies do not launch perfect products. Instead, they release messy, imperfect, minimum viable products just to gather data. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a guide called The Trap of Perfect: How to Ship Faster. And our mission today is to completely break you out of that paralysis.
Yeah.
This is all about getting over imposter syndrome and finally putting your work out into the world.
Because so many of us we're just absolutely terrified of criticism.
Exactly. In the next 20 minutes, you are going to learn 10 specific, actionable strategies to ship your work, even if you are scared to death of what people might think.
And the very first thing we have to do, the core philosophy here, is a total reframe. You have to stop polishing the exact same detail forever.
Yeah.
Because the hard truth is, this isn't high standards. It is fear disguised as quality. We have to completely remove the barrier of, getting it right the first time.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because we are basically taught from grade school that avoiding mistakes is the only way to succeed.
That's right, it's completely backwards.
It is. And the first tactic here is a massive concept flip. Quantity actually leads to quality. And there's this brilliant pottery class parable in the source that illustrates this.
I love this parable. It's such a perfect isolation of how perfectionism actually stunts our growth.
Right, so imagine a ceramics teacher divides their class in half on the first day. Group A is told they are going to be graded entirely on quantity.
Literally bringing in a bathroom scale to weigh the pots.
Exactly. 50 pounds of clay gets an A. It doesn't matter if the pots look like garbage. But Group B, they are graded solely on quality. They only have to make one single pot all semester, but it has to be absolute, pristine perfection.
And you can visualize exactly what happens. Group A just gets their hands dirty immediately. They're throwing wet, heavy clay onto the spinning wheel. Water is splashing all over the linoleum floor. They are churning out these lopsided, ugly bowls.
Making a total mess.
A huge mess. But their hands are constantly moving. They are feeling the texture of the earth, learning the exact pressure to apply.
While Group B is just
staring at a dry, pristine block of clay.
Sitting at a clean table, totally paralyzed. They were debating the theoretical aerodynamics of the perfect curve instead of actually touching the clay.
And the punchline at the end of the semester is that the most beautiful, structurally sound pots, the highest quality work all, came from Group A, the quantity group.
Because they actually built the muscle memory. They didn't just theorize about it.
Exactly. You have to churn through the messy volume to find the quality.
But, if I'm a listener sitting in a corporate office, I can't just hand my boss 50 garbage reports to build my muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
How do we actually force ourselves to act like Group A in a professional setting?
That brings us to the second tactic, which is manipulating your environment, specifically using the public deadline.
Oh, this is ruthless.
It is, but it works. When you work in a vacuum, you can endlessly tinker. You can always tell yourself, I'll just fix this one slide tomorrow. But by announcing a launch date publicly, you manufacture immediate urgency.
You essentially burn the ships.
You do. You tell your manager the deck will be in their inbox by Thursday morning, or you post on LinkedIn that your new site goes live on the 15th. It forces completion because the social pain of breaking a public promise suddenly outweighs your internal fear of releasing imperfect work.
Okay, so that was the macro environment, using public deadlines. Now, let's navigate to the daily rules of execution, the micro tactics.
Yeah.
I want you to treat this next one as an audio sticky note. Picture a bright neon yellow Post-it note and slap it right in the middle of your monitor. The 70% rule.
This is where people really stumble. The main reason talented people fail to ship their work is over-editing.
Yeah.
The fix is you must ship the project when it is exactly 70% ready.
Which feels terrible. It feels like you're just settling for a C-.
It does feel bad at first, but you have to understand the law of diminishing returns here. Getting a project from a blank page to 70% where the core value is there, the main argument is clear. That takes about 20% of your total effort.
Right.
But grinding that exact same project from 70% up to a flawless 100%, that takes the remaining 80% of your energy. You are spending days agonizing over font choices or sentence flow that your audience probably won't even notice.
It's an illusion of productivity, which leads right into tactic 4, time-bounded quality. Because even if I accept the 70% rule, my brain will still try to endlessly tweak that 70%.
Because tweaking feels safe, it feels like working.
Exactly. So the fix is establishing a hard clock. You decide in advance that this project will be considered good enough by 5 p.m. today. And when 5 p.m. strikes, It is pencils down.
You physically take your hands off the keyboard.
You have to. No exceptions.
What that 5 p.m. constraint does is force ruthless prioritization. You stop worrying about the shade of blue on the header and you focus entirely on whether the core data is accurate. It kills the endless tweaking.
Let's group tactic 7 in here too because it's directly related to time bounds. The danger of scope creep.
Oh, the silent project killer.
Right. You sit down to write a simple team update, and 2 hours later, you're redesigning the company email signature and researching macroeconomic trends.
You set out to build a skateboard, and halfway through, you decide it needs a jet engine.
Exactly. So the fix here is to clearly define done. You have to create a definitive checklist for completion before you even start. And once those specific boxes are checked, the project is over.
If you get a brilliant new idea at 4:30 p.m., it goes into a notebook for version 2. It does not go into the current project. You have to protect the boundary of done.
Okay, let's transition from those daily rules into the actual creation process. Tactic 8, separating creation from editing. The big failure point here is self-censorship.
You cannot generate brilliant ideas with your foot slammed on the brake pedal.
The classic mantra the source uses is, write drunk, edit sober.
Obviously meant metaphorically.
Of course. But the sensory reality of it is so important. When you are creating, your brain should be like a wild, uninhibited artist just throwing messy paint onto a canvas. You don't stop to fix typos. You don't fact check. You just let it flow.
Because your generative neurological network operates completely differently from your analytical network. The editor in your brain is like a strict accountant. You cannot put the wild artist and the strict accountant in the same room at the same time.
They will just fight.
They will stall the engine completely. You have to write freely, take a distinct break, and then come back later sober and analytical to carve away the excess.
That makes total sense. Now, what happens once we've actually created the thing? We hit that 70%, the 5 p.m. alarm goes off. Tactic 5 is iterative design. The text warns heavily against the big bet.
The big bet is terrifying. This is where you lock yourself in a basement for 2 years, pouring all your money and your identity into one massive, flawless launch.
Like a Hollywood blockbuster where everything rides on opening weekend.
Exactly. And if you guessed wrong about what the market actually wants, it is a total, unrecoverable disaster.
So the fix is making small bets. Frequent updates.
Which ties perfectly into Tactic 6, feedback loops. The reason the big bet fails is because it relies on you guessing in isolation.
Right, and guessing is a trap. If I can use a GPS metaphor here, building in isolation is like trying to navigate a cross-country road trip using a paper map from 1998. You can draw the most perfect route at your kitchen table, but the second you hit the real highway, there's construction and traffic that wasn't on your map.
Yes, you have to turn on the modern GPS. You have to ask the market early. When you launch a small, 70% ready version of your work, you are outsourcing your quality control to reality.
The market tells you exactly where the traffic jams are.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that real-world data, even if it bruises your ego a little bit, is infinitely more valuable than sitting alone in a room perfecting something nobody actually wants.
It saves you from spending 3 months building a complex feature when the users just wanted a simple button fixed.
Real-world feedback is the ultimate shortcut.
Okay, we are rounding the final corner here. We've talked about the environment, the daily tactics, the iterative process. But let's get down to the emotional core. Tactic 9, energy or courage management.
Because shipping isn't really a time management problem.
No, it's not. It's an emotional problem. Shipping is an act of vulnerability. You are acting despite the fear of judgment.
And that takes a massive toll on your energy.
It does. When you're endlessly tweaking, you aren't just wasting time. You are actively draining your internal courage reserves. Every time you delay a launch, you're letting fear drive the car.
And eventually, you just abandon the project entirely because you're emotionally exhausted.
So to fix this, Tactic 10 delivers the ultimate mindset shift, the emotional payoff of this entire guide.
Which is that your first draft will suck. And that is completely okay.
You are allowed to make mistakes.
You have to give yourself permission to be a beginner in public. We have this toxic illusion that the most successful people are the ones who just never stumble.
But the ultimate competitive advantage isn't being flawless out of the gate.
Not at all. The ultimate advantage is the speed at which you learn. If you master the art of shipping, if you can consistently put your 70% work out there and gather unvarnished feedback, your growth becomes exponential.
The perfectionist who takes a year to launch one project learns exactly one lesson.
Right. And the person who ships 12 imperfect things in that same year learns 12 times as much. they adapt 12 times faster.
They are the ones actually building the muscle memory on the pottery wheel.
Exactly.
All right, let's quickly recap the ground we've covered. We started by redefining quality, realizing that perfectionism is usually just fear in a fancy suit.
We embraced the messy pottery wheel and set public deadlines to manufacture urgency.
We used daily defense mechanisms, the 70% rule, the 5 p.m. pencils down cutoff, and defining exactly what done looks like to kill scope creep.
We separated our wild creation phase from our sober editing phase.
And finally, we abandoned the big bet. We chose small bets, early feedback loops, and accepted that the messy first draft is just part of the process. You are prioritizing the speed of your learning over the illusion of being flawless.
Because the goal isn't to hide from criticism. The goal is to get useful criticism based on a real product instead of a theoretical idea sitting on your hard drive.
Absolutely. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over. We spent this whole deep dive talking about the psychological struggle of getting to that 70% threshold.
Yeah.
But think about the world we're entering right now with generative AI.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If an AI tool can instantly write your 70% ready first draft in 10 seconds, how is our perfectionism going to adapt? Will our fear of shipping finally disappear because the heavy lifting is done? Or will our anxiety just evolve and we'll start spending 80% of our time endlessly agonizing over the microscopic details of the AI's draft?
That is a fascinating question. The tools change, but the human brain doesn't.
The internal battle of courage remains exactly the same. The true test of this deep dive isn't how well you memorize the tactics. The true test is what you choose to ship next. Get out there, make a mess, and show the world what you've been working on.
You've made it this far, so why stop now? There are 2 videos on your screen right now that are perfect for you. Just pick the one that looks most interesting and let's dive back in.